What's going on YouTube? So Subaru has an extensive lineup of good-selling crossovers, but likely the first one you think of is the Outback. For years, this has not only been one of their best sellers, but it's also their flagship that sets the bar for the rest of the models in many ways. That's why this refreshed 2023 model is such a big deal. So did Subaru improve on this winning Outback formula? Let's go ahead and find out. Now, as soon as you walk up to this refreshed Outback, you're going to notice some pretty substantial changes to the styling. But before I talk about that, I do want to mention two things about the updated trim structure. First of all, the Onyx Edition previously was XT Turbo only. Now you can get that with the standard motor, which drops that base price down. The second thing is the new Wilderness trim level that was introduced last year. That actually remains the same for 2023, so it's not going to have any of these updates to the overall exterior design that I'm getting ready to talk about. So keep that in mind, and if you want to learn about that product, check out our 2022 review also on the channel right now. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about those exterior changes, because like I said, they're pretty substantial. The primary thing here that Subaru has done is really change the grille. It's quite a bit larger than before. As you can see, it extends down all the way to here. It also has a different interior texture. And where most of the trim levels previously had a chrome trim that runs through here, they've now switched that out to a dark gray on most of the trim levels, except for the Onyx Edition, which gets a gloss black. Overall, I do like the way this looks. It's certainly the most aggressive looking Outback that they've ever made. Another addition that they've changed is over here with the cladding. And you'll see some changes with the cladding all throughout the vehicle, but in the front it's the most pronounced because this goes all the way up through here, comes up until it gets right underneath of the headlights, giving it a more aggressive and dynamic look. Speaking of more aggressive and dynamic, the headlights have also been revised for this refresh. You'll notice that they have a new shape to them, particularly in the daytime running light, which kind of hooks around through here, almost mimicking this shape, as a matter of fact. They're going to be standard LEDs across every single model. The turn signal, that's the only part that's going to be incandescent. However, all of the trim levels will also come with LED fog lamps. As we continue on to our wheels, you do have several different options you can choose between. Base and Premium will continue to come with 17-inch alloy wheels. When you get to the Onyx Edition, that's going to get you an 18-inch gloss black wheel. And then your Limited and your Touring trim levels will come with this. This is an 18-inch contrast alloy wheel, which I think looks quite nice. And as we rise up and take a look at our mirrors, I do like this nice chrome detail where it kind of continues onto the mirror itself. And you do have several different finishes you can get this in. As you can see, we've got the gloss black on today's example. You will have standard blind spot monitoring on the Onyx Edition and above, although it is available as an option on your lower trim levels. And then we also have the available auto dimming.
All right guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the side of the Outback. Now, of course, this has a very unique look, and that's going to continue for 2023. Subaru has actually changed quite a bit in terms of the design, but you're going to have that signature Outback look here at the side. We're looking at 191.1 inches in overall length, and as far as some of those elements that they have changed, let's go ahead and hop into those. We have some really beefy roof rails up here at the top for all of your outdoor equipment, for all your adventuring, and then this is going to be a pretty substantial change for 2023. You do have beefier cladding around all of your wheel archings, which gives it a nice, tough, rugged look. And we do also have some Outback branding down here as well, which is a signature element that the Outback has always had. Now, let's go ahead and walk around and talk about the rear design. So Subaru has changed this for 2023. Like I said, there's some different elements going on, but they're not going to really mess with the overall Outback formula because that has, of course, been very successful and it has a very nice design. So breaking down some of the elements, we do have an exposure wiper right here, and then going on the sides, you do have some partially LED taillights. These are going to be pretty much the same as what we have seen last year on the Outback. So we have an incandescent turn signal, incandescent reverse light, but we do have an LED brake light, which is nice. If we drop down to the lower elements, once again, you're going to have beefier cladding for 2023, give it that nice, tough, rugged look. We also have some chrome trim here in the middle to give it a premium vibe. And as far as your tow rating, you're going to be looking at 2,700 pounds for the regular 2.5 liter motor, or you're going to have 3,500 pounds if you go for the XT models. Now, you've seen all the commercials with Subaru and their safety systems, and of course for 2023 they are going to continue to offer those safety systems as standard equipment. So their entire EyeSight safety suite is going to be standard, and it also is going to have smoother operation for 2023. So that will include your forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, auto high beams, as well as adaptive cruise control. Now, if you go for a limited trim like what we have today and higher, that will also throw in rear auto braking. Now, as far as your warranty information, you're looking at Subaru Signature Warranty, 3-year 36,000 miles for your basic warranty, 5-year 60,000 miles for your powertrain warranty. Well guys, that wraps up the refreshed Subaru Outback on the outside. Now let's go ahead and check out the refreshed interior and see what they've done in there.
There's a look at that two-tone interior, and we'll go ahead and climb inside here. Now there's some traffic noise outside, so I wanted to get inside the vehicle before I talk to you guys about the key fob. So this is what we've got, the typical Subaru key fob. This is the smart entry system, which is going to be standard this year on the Onyx Edition and above. And then taking a look at the cabin, let's first talk about our color and material choices. So just like last year, your base and your premium trims will come with cloth seating. The Onyx Edition and the Wilderness, that will come with the StarTex water-resistant material, kind of a leatherette. And then you have Limited with leather and the Touring with the fine Napa leather. Now what we have on board is of course the Limited trim level today, so we do have the genuine leather, and I have to say very, very impressed by this. Great quality leather, lots of perforation, lots of stitching details, and I love the two-tone look, really nice look. As far as your color choices for this, you've got the choice between a slate black, titanium gray, or warm ivory. And I do also want to point out a new addition to the lineup, and that's on the Touring trim level. Previously, you could only get Java brown, but now you can also get a black with tan stitching if you prefer a darker color and don't like the brown. Now as we turn over here to the seats themselves, we're going to have a 12-way power adjusting seat with 4-way lumbar support on this model. And as we move up to the door trim, we do have a very nicely finished one. Similar to the seats, it's got a two-tone finish here, so we've got this leather that runs across the armrest with the stitching detail. It's going to be leather all through here with this double stitching detail, soft touch along the top, color contrast material through there, and some piano black accents. As far as the windows, it's going to be one-touch auto up and down for all four, and the Limited and the Touring grades will get the two-person memory seating. As we continue up to the top of the dashboard, this is all going to be finished in a soft touch plastic. As we move down to the middle, we have more of this leather material through here with the stitching detail, more piano black accents, and more leather with stitching. And as we continue down to the lower panels, again, you're going to find the nice leather material that runs all through here with the stitching detail, and everything does fit together very, very solidly. Now, similar to the Smart Key Access, you do have push button start on the Onyx Edition and above. Now when it comes to the interior, they've certainly made a lot less changes than on the outside. However, this has always been a very nice cabin, and there are some important changes still, which I will point out as we go through the video. However, one of the things that has not changed will be our gauge cluster. So as you can see, we do have the 4.2-inch multifunction display right there in the middle. That contains some of your basic information. And then, as you know, a lot of Subarus have a secondary display that exists up top. In this model, it's going to be integrated into the main display, and you can just use this here to cycle between different kinds of additional information you may want to know. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, we do have a nice leather wrapped steering wheel. It's going to be leather wrapped on all but the base model. It is also going to be manual tilt and telescoping. And then a lot of your upper end trim levels, those will come with steering wheel heating. But let's go ahead and dive into interior storage, because this is a very versatile space for all your outdoor activities, of course. So let's open up our center console here. Looking inside, we do have a pretty nice amount of space. It is felt lined down there at the bottom, and you have a 12-volt outlet inside. And let's check how many coupons it'll fit. Stick them in here. It's not super deep, but I do think this is going to shut still just fine. Yep, it does. So it does pass the coupon test. We've got a couple really deep cup holders. And then you've got another storage area up here in the front. It looks pretty small, but this actually goes down quite a ways. And all of the trim levels have the availability of getting a wireless phone charging pad. Now you also notice we've got a traditional USB. We have a new USB-C as well. Now as I pull back here to the shifter, it's just a nice traditional style shifter. Pull back for drive, of course. Bump over here to the left if you want to shift manually. And then we do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel for those shift simulations. And then when we head into reverse, this is where you're going to be greeted with a standard backup camera. As you can see, it does take up this middle section of the display. You've got active trajectory. We also have parking sensors on this trim level. No 360 camera though, but what Subaru does offer is a front view monitor. So that's good for parking as well as, of course, taking this off-road. And that's going to be available, or excuse me, standard on the Touring, Touring XT, Onyx XT, and the Wilderness trim levels. And then right in front of the shifter, you do have your electronic parking brake. But we can't ignore it any longer. Let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the cabin. That's going to be the gigantic 11.6-inch display. As you'd expect for a large display like this, you are going to have really a ton of different options for the cabin built in to the display itself. This is going to be included on the premium trim level and above. If you do choose the base model, instead of the large seamless display, you're going to get two smaller displays that kind of split up the functionality. But more or less, you know, it's kind of similar. Let's go ahead and talk about the first thing that's part of the display, and that's going to be down here at the bottom. That's our climate controls. So it is a dual zone automatic climate control on that premium trim level and above. Just like before this refresh, Subaru does say that the climate control has its own processing. That's to help things be speedy and not be slowed down by the main infotainment system. So to make those adjustments, you do have hard buttons over here to change your temperature, and then you can adjust your fan speeds down here in the bottom. It is nice and responsive when I'm touching it. I'm also noticing the graphics themselves have been rearranged. They look a little bit nicer, and it makes the features more available for you to click on, including your heated seats, so less steps to get into that. Those are also included on the premium trim level and above, but if you want seat ventilation, you will have to choose the fully loaded touring model. Additionally, before I dive into the main adjustments made to the infotainment system, let's talk about the volume knob and the audio systems. So we've got the 576 watt 12 speaker Harman Kardon sound system on the limited and the touring trim levels. Other trims are going to come with 4 or 6 speaker sound systems. But let's go ahead and give this top end system a sample. Wow, I have to say, I'm very impressed by this sound system. Harman Kardon sound systems are usually really good, and this is no exception. Certainly fills up the cabin well. Okay, so a lot of you guys are going to be really excited to know about the changes inside of the infotainment system. So this is running the newest version of the Starlink infotainment software. Just like with the climate controls, they have adjusted some of the graphics. One of the things I noticed right off the bat is the auto start stop system now has a toggle button that's built into this main bar, so you don't have to go searching for that to be able to turn it off, which I know a lot of you guys have complained about in the past. The other big improvement is this right here. I'm in the Android Auto system right now, and this is running wirelessly. It can also do that with the Apple CarPlay system, and that is new for 2023. And as you can see, it does take up the majority of the display as well. I'll go ahead and jump back to the main screen here, show you what that looks like. It is mostly the same as before. And then we do have the built-in navigation system, and that is what that looks like. All right, so let's move on up to the top here. Take a look at our mirror. As you can see, we do have a auto dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes and a built-in compass. What's new for 2023 is the fact if you choose the top-end touring model, you'll now get a smart rear camera mirror. So you can flip that switch and get that camera feed in the back. Coming up to the top here, we've got a nice sunglass holder. And we do also have the available regular size sunroof on this model. It is going to be included as standard equipment on the touring trim level and then all models with the XT turbo engine. Of course, you can't get a panoramic sunroof on this like you can in the Forester. That's due to the fact that most people are sticking things on the roof for those outdoor activities.
Well guys, as you have maybe seen in previous Outback reviews, the rear seat is a very nice space for this Outback because we're going to have lots of space and also a lot of luxury amenities when you go for a limited trim like this one. Now, as far as the space, let's go ahead and discuss that first. We're looking at 39.5 inches of rear legroom, 39.1 inches of rear headroom, which just places this like right on par with something like a Subaru Forester if you're looking within Subaru's own lineup. That said, it is also right in line with other semi-rivals, I guess you could call, like Nissan Murano, Ford Edge, those types of vehicles. Now, as far as some other features, we do have double seat back pockets, which is nice, and that's going to be on both seats. And as you can see, I'm 5'9". This is Drew's seating position for reference, and I have probably, I'd say, about 8 inches of space between my knees and the seat back. So a lot of space. I also want to mention that we do have the ability to recline the second rows, so that's really nice. There's a little lever right here, and that does recline a few degrees, and it makes it a lot more comfortable. Now, as far as here in the center, we have vents. That's going to be a nice touch included. No climate controls though. And if we drop down below that, we do actually have two charging USB ports. We have a regular USB Type A as well as a USB Type C. That's going to be new this year for the Outback. Then to the left of that, we're also going to have 2-stage heated rear seats. That's going to be included on the limited trim levels and above, as well as all of the XT models. And then if we fold down the center armrest, there's cup holders inside of here. It's a really comfortable armrest. Now let's go ahead and check out the door trim. The door trim is going to be really nicely finished. I like all the colors that they've thrown in here. You have the multi-tone as well as some piano black. All of this is going to be a nice leatherette. We have a padded armrest portion, and in the very bottom we do also have a bottle holder. Now walking up to the tailgate of the Outback, we do have a hands-free power one, and that's going to be included on the Onyx Edition and above. So in order to open it, Subaru has a nice mechanism where you just kind of put your hand next to the Subaru emblem, and then that will go ahead and open it up. So of course you can also use like your elbow if your hands are full with groceries or whatnot. Now let's go ahead and talk about the space in the Outback. So we're going to have 32.6 cubic feet of cargo capacity behind the second row seats. As a maximum, we're looking at 75.6 cubic feet of cargo capacity, which is a lot of space, guys. I don't really have to tell you that that's a lot of space. You can see it with your own eyes. There is tons of room for any outdoor equipment or any type of adventure that you're going to go on in this Outback. It's right on par with the Subaru Forester if that's something you're cross-shopping this with, and it's also going to be on par with a lot of those other rivals like I mentioned in the second row. Now, as far as some of the finishings, let's go ahead and knock those out. So we do have a nice cargo cover up top. We can extend that out. Over on the sides, you will notice these are your handles to fold the seats. The seats do fold 60-40 split, so that's a nice touch that they've included. And then underneath of the cargo floor, there's not going to be any additional storage, but there is a few things up underneath of there. And we do also have a few little pop-out hooks here in case you need that, as well as a 12-volt power outlet. Your passenger seat over here is going to be 8-way power adjusting, which is quite nice. And then if we pop open the glove box, let's go ahead and take a look at that. We do have a really nice felt-lined one. I'm surprised to see that it's felt-lined. You really don't see that on, actually a lot of luxury cars don't even have felt-lined glove boxes. And let's see our daily coupon. Let's go to Fazoli's here. We got the $8.99 whole pizza for daily deals on a Monday only, so that's an interesting deal. And then up top, we have a sun visor, we have some lighting integrated in, as well as a mirror, and you can also detach it and extend it out.
Alrighty guys, we care about getting you the latest content as quickly as possible, so we wanted to come out and film this 2023 Outback ASAP. That being said, this is a sold unit, so we're not going to take this specific example out for a drive. However, we are going to insert our test drive from last year. Now, as far as behind the wheel, nothing has changed. So the engines are going to stay the same. All of our driving impressions are going to be exactly the same for this 2023 model. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into that. Alright, so there's a acceleration with this 2022 Subaru Outback. What we have on board today is the standard engine. This is what the vast majority of Outbacks will be equipped with. It's the 2.5 liter boxer 4-cylinder, making 182 horsepower, 176 pound-feet of torque. Definitely feels more than adequate. I would say the majority of people will be totally satisfied with it. But of course, as with the last two model years, you have the XT version available if you want more power. I believe it's 260 horsepower, so from the turbocharged 2.4 liter boxer 4, and that's available as an option on your top two trims, and the standard on the XT, or the Onyx Edition, and the Wilderness model.
Yeah, and we have driven that one a few times, so if you're more concerned about the power, that is a really, really great engine. But like Drew said, this is more than adequate for the average Outback owner. By any means, when you get into a vehicle like this, I don't think you expect it to be super fast or anything like that. So this is perfectly fine.
Right, and this has a continuously variable transmission no matter which engine you choose. The nice thing about it in this application is that it is tuned to be very responsive when you first start off. So I feel like when you put your foot down, it feels very spunky when you first take off, no matter which engine that you choose.
Nice.
Quite nice. You also notice that the CVT does have shift simulation as well, so it gives it a more conventional feel when you're behind the wheel.
Alrighty. And now that we're up to around 55 miles an hour, let's get a sound sample. We're sitting at 55 even. That's a really good reading, and from seeing my pants, it certainly seems very quiet inside of this cabin. It's also just really amazingly comfortable. We've always been a fan of the way this Outback drives. It's really, really comfortable. The seats are amazing. You just feel like you melt in them. Mm-hmm. And really, honestly, for the price point, you can't get much more comfortable than this. Now, there have been very minute changes for 2023, and one of those changes is going to be the fuel economy rating. Now, of course, we do still have the same powertrain and all that. It's most likely just the EPA changing the way they rate vehicles, but all of our MPG figures have actually been reduced by 1 MPG combined for 2023. So we're looking at 26, 32, 28 miles a gallon combined if you go for the standard motor. If you go for the XT, you're going to be looking at 25 MPG as your combined rating. And of course, you do have standard all-wheel drive with any Subaru, so there's going to be only 2 ratings for fuel economy. Now, I do also want to mention your pricing because that changes every single year, so let's go ahead and dive into that. So the base model is going to start at $28,395. Do keep in mind the standard all-wheel drive, which I was just talking about earlier. There are about 15 different trim levels that you can pick between, especially when you factor in the engines. You go all the way up to the XT Touring, which starts at $42,295. That does mean that the price is going to rise around $1,500 on all of the trim levels for 2023.
This tester today is a limited with the standard motor. We do also have a few option packages included on that, plus a 1225 destination charge. We're looking at $39,006 as tested.
We also wanted to update our airball and slam dunks this year. So for the slam dunk, the interior was already very nice on this model. I think what I like most is that they've updated the exterior as well. I feel that this is really the best looking Outback that's ever existed. It just has a bolder design that, you know, Subaru is a conservative brand, but for a Subaru, this is a bold look, and I do like it a lot.
And for our airball, we really kind of struggled to come up with something because this is a really impressive overall package. One thing that we would like to see is an available panoramic sunroof as an option. I understand that there are some issues with that in terms of if you have a kayak or whatnot, but at least offering it as a option for someone that is not really going to be doing that and just wants a panoramic moonroof would be a nice touch. Well guys, thanks so much for joining us on this in-depth review of the 2023 Subaru Outback. Of course, we've really enjoyed spending some time with this refreshed Outback, and we hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please pay us back by hitting that subscribe button down below. It would really help us out. It helps give us access to better cars to show you all. Also, follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and check out our merch store because we have a lot of different items on there for you to purchase. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.